That's right. Welcome back to Capital Today. My name is Raj Arya, together with Norashiki and Rahmat. And of course, we are focusing on GST, and we have two special guests, as we have introduced earlier, who is none other than our Formca CEO, Dr. Paul Selvaraj, as well as our GST manager, Jackie Chan from YYC and Co. Now, moving on to what we have discussed just now as well, there's another big misconception, which we hope Dr. Paul can clarify: lower income earners. Now, they're saying with the GST, overnight, their spending will shoot up in spite of the zero rated, for example, and they were going to be the ones who is going to feel the brunt of GST. Can you clarify on that position?
I think there are two issues here. Firstly, consumers assume that they're not paying tax because the current tax system is embedded. So when you get your receipt from the supermarket, it's just a lump sum. It does not include, it's not written at least, the tax have already been embedded in. So when you get the GST receipt, you'll see tax. So the assumption is we have not been paying tax, we are going to pay tax now. So of course this is a misconception. We have always been paying tax. Nobody has escaped from tax. Death and taxes. These are the two permanent things. The other thing is also, okay, although we talk of GST as a whole, there have been efforts made to make sure that the common items, especially used by low-income earners, is zero-rated. So that means there is a special focus to make sure that those in the low income, the commonly eaten items, for example, food, basic foods and all that, they are not taxed. So again, this is a special provision made to ensure that, of course, there's going to be impact on GST, we cannot run from that, but to minimize the impact of this kind of common food. So I think people should realize both these aspects of that. But I think the biggest thing is people think they don't pay tax now. And
well said.
Tax,
So, Mr. Jackie, what do you think about people being misled about the GST, and how can we better educate them?
Yeah, just like what Dato Paul said now, is that everybody is thinking that they are not paying tax now. Yeah, so and also maybe give a very simple example. I just bought an aircon in the electrical shop. The businessman told the boss told me, he said, this aircon worth 1,000 ringgit. If you buy now, it's 1,000. Later GST coming will be 6 plus 6 plus 6, 18% add on. So they're misleading me in this thing. So the total cost of this aircon will be 1,180.
You don't know they're talking to Jackie Chan.
Be very careful who you're talking to.
I think this is the big mistake. People will worry that the prices is actually increased. In fact, it's not. Actually, the aircons, right? Actually, you will include the sale tax of 10% when you're buying from the they come to the factory. So in fact, we buy this aircon, the price should be cheaper.
Potentially cheaper, right?
Yeah, should be cheaper. Last time I paying 10% for the sale tax, but now I only pay 6%. But all the businessmen, they forget about the input tax that can be claimed. So that's why a lot of misleading information given by all the
so it could lead to oversimplification and as well as unethical selling as well to take advantage of the situation.
But I think one concern, although he has talked at the retail end, but it also depends on how many chains it goes through. So the more value chains there, the price is going to increase. But of course, I think the misconception is that 4 times 4 times 4. It's not. So they are saying it's 12%. Suddenly it looks exorbitant. But actually, there's a kind of complicated calculation. It's not so easy to explain. But it's of course way below that times kind of thing.
Are businesses ready, and do they understand that the 4% should be cut across additionally, or
I think the businessmen, they are not understand. Once they understand, right, the GST concept, they should not pass on this GST cost to the consumer. Actually, for the general business, right, we can say GST is not cost of doing business. You should not pass on this cost to your consumer.
Because it's only for the additional services that they provide.
Yes, it's only for your profit.
The value add which you do to the product.
But although it's charged that way, the consumer finally pays the GST. But of course, it's not paying the times, but it's still paying the GST. But the consumer is still paying at the end. It's just that they can claim earlier.
There's a risk that if the businesses are not well educated, then the consumers would actually be paying 4 times.
If they push the cost to the consumer, cost that actually they can claim back, of course it's going to, and this is where the concern of, when the shopper's guide plus the implementation of the Anti-Profiteering Act. I mean, they could do it because they are not aware. I mean, that's a different story that can be corrected. But they could be aware in doing it, So that is where enforcement have to come
Right,
in.
Dr. Paul, this enforcement thing is not a new issue. Even in the past, there's people who's taking advantage of all kinds of situations. I'm sure you as from CEO of FOMCA have seen that with your own eyes. So how are things going to change? What does the government need to do to ensure that this profiteering is not going to take place in spite of all this new legislation?
I think there are two things. One, by the structure of GST itself, if you are in the value chain, it's called self-policing. You are forced to check in the system. You are forced to register. Because if you do not register, the other guy you sell to cannot claim. So that is a policing system within itself.
Right.
The concern is at the retail end. Retail end, if you, I mean, that's a calculation of how much you actually can charge, you know. But if you take advantage and put the full amount, then you are taking advantage. But that is a self-polling system which is superior to the current system now. Because if you are not registered, the guy in front of you is not, he cannot claim, and he's not going to buy from you. He's going to buy from somebody who's registered.
Sure.
Because there is a, so that's a good system.
So it forces you to get into the system.
Yes. But still there's the risk of profiteering at the end, and this is where the enforcement
I mean,
comes
I have
in.
a question for Jackie here. When we look at the bigger retailers, they would be more ready when it comes to the GST. What about the small shops, mom and pop shops? The guy who I buy my pens from, are they actually ready?
Okay, I think for the small business, I think they are not ready. I think because GST, you talk about training in their knowledge, and also they need a system. They need a system to come up with the tax invoices, because under our current system, we are just use the normal invoice can be written by hand. But under the GST region, right, you have one called tax invoices. Just now, like Dato said, it's a cost checking policy. So I think you need to issue a tax invoices. Yeah. Okay. So I hope more businessmen can. To attend more GST seminar, then to know what is the GST needed, and also try to start from now. You go and start to talk to the software provider, then how to come up with a proper GST system. Only you can do for it.
Right. One thing to add on from what Dr. Paul has said just now. Now everyone is forced to get into the system because you need to be registered. So now there's also greater transparency as well, which is a positive thing. In spite of all these new things taking place, is there scope for people businesses to abuse the system? This one I'll ask you. The tax expert.
I think yes. No longer how good the system do, they will still have some people try to do it differently. Like our neighbor country like Singapore, right? I think from their recent audit case filed, I think still a lot of cases the businessmen wrongly claim the input tax. Means that which is not allowed to claim, but they are wrongly claim on it. So I think still a lot of cases, even is our good country, we can assume it's Singapore.
That's right.
Yeah, I think it's still a lot of problems.
But we can learn from them, right? We can learn from the mistakes, the difficulties which the other countries like our peers have faced in terms of implementation as well, right?
I think one thing is good. Our country is not the first one to implement GST. Actually, we are only in our Asia is still Asian is only Brunei and ourselves.
We're quite far behind compared to all of these.
So I think we can learn from other mistakes. Like even how we should control all the inflation and this thing. So we have the experience. We know
the benefit of having the foresight, looking at our counterparts overseas.
We've looked a lot at the business readiness about implementing GST. What's your opinion about the authorities' readiness? Are they ready?
Okay. Our authority to enforce the GST is custom department.
Not LHDN.
Not LHDN. Just everybody will talk LHDN. Maybe we also compare with Singapore, because Singapore is based on the IRAS, is the Inland Revenue to handle the GST. But in Malaysia is still a custom department to handle this GST. So I think because we have attended a lot of courses from the custom also, I think they are ready. They are all ready already. So the question is, are we ready? The custom is ready. Yeah.
Dr. Paul, just a quick one. We are running out a lot of time right now. What are the areas that needs to be focused on, given the fact that now we still have the benefit of being 17 months away from the full launch of GST? What are the key areas that businesses need to look at, and as well as from the government, which needs to look at?
I think there are two issues. One is the focus has to be on education.
Okay,
education. That's awareness in education, right on the grassroots. Number two, the shopper's guide should provide very clear clarity to consumers the actual price impact. There's a lot of words, there's a lot of figures being put around about the impact on consumer price index, and sometimes they're giving too positive but what is the real impact? So I think that's important. The third very important thing on consumer side is we're assuming there's going to be a lot of people taking advantage.
Right.
So the enforcement has to be strong so that if the impact is 10 cents, then it should be 10 cents. It cannot be 50 cents. I mean, here when price goes up for 1 liter of petrol by 20 cents, your Nescafe go up. So it takes 1 liter of petrol to make 1 glass of Nescafe. You know? So
It
that
took a
kind
long
of
drive.
profiteering
That's
must
right.
be stopped right at the beginning. Then you build confidence of the people.
That's right. Enforcement. Or what about you,
Okay,
Jackie?
I agree with Dato' Paul with the business education, but I want to add on some things. For the businessman, you should look into consideration the impact on your cash flow. Because the GST is everything is regarding the cash flow. You need to pay to the pay to the government first when you issue
Right.
the
Cash
so the cash flow you
management.
need to control, and also the stock management. Whether you buy the stock before GST or after GST, you need to do some planning. And also lastly, I want to emphasize is your accounting system or your software to manage your business. Otherwise, you will get a lot of messy work because the GST for those annual turnover is 5 million and above. You need annually. Every month you have to submit the tax return. So I think it's a lot of work has to be done.
So that must be the grant that they're giving for accounting
Yes,
system.
I think the government's giving the grant to the SME to buy some system.
Accounting softwares,
Yeah. I think it's good. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Any parting words for our viewers out there?
Just one, I mean, on the authority side. Okay, this is a better system of collecting tax. What do people expect from this? People expect a better quality of life. So we hope that we get better transport, we get better healthcare, we get better education. That is what the money should be used and used well.
Yeah,
for the benefit of
definitely.
consumers.
Higher revenue and hopefully less leakages, as we've
Less
seen in the
leakages, yes.
Auditor General's
Yes.
report, which is very crucial as well. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time today.
Okay.
It's been
Thank
most
you.
informative. And there you have it, and insights into the GST, the myths, the facts with regards to it. And of course, we need not fear as long as we all play our part, from the consumer all the way to the businesses, as well as the government. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break right now, and we'll be back right after this.